reality is, based on your article, Josh, and on the research you've done, is that tight ends actually affect running backs more so than any other position. So let me, in setting the table, take it from there, dude. Maybe start right from the top. How did you come up with this correlation? I know you gave some credit over to Fantasy Pros. So, maybe just take us on a bit of a journey here.
Yeah. So when I first kind of heard of this tight end target correlation running backs, it was brought up loosely in a podcast that I listened to. I feel like I listen to 40 podcasts a week on fantasy football just to absorb all the knowledge that I can. And I heard someone mention Mike Tagliere over at Fantasy Pros. I heard him mention something about how tight end targets and running back targets, there was a correlation, but he didn't really tell me exactly what it was. So I decided to take that in my own hands and run with it and say, okay, logically that makes sense. Because when you look at a dot for a wide receiver versus a tight end, the average depth of target for a tight end is closer to line of scrimmage, which is more similar to a running back than a wide receiver, right? So that's kind of the logic behind why I decided to dive further into this. And as you look at the article, the basic rundown on the article, obviously a quarterback only has so many pass attempts to go around. So a wide receiver getting a target means there's less targets for a running back. But the same thing for tight ends. And what I did is I took data from 2015 to 2019 and looked at the relationship between the change in wide receiver targets for a team and the change in tight end targets for a team compared to running back targets, right? So it's about 160 teams worth of data. And when you plot them side by side, if you look at the wide receiver target change versus the running back target change, there's not a huge relationship. So based on Y equals MX plus B, that old thing you learned in math class, if you look at the slope of the line, it takes about 60 wide receiver targets to impact one running back target. But when it comes to tight ends, it's incredibly different. So the same exact exercise where you're looking at the change in tight end targets compared to the change in running back targets, the magic number there is only 7. So mathematically, 7 tight end targets correlate to 1 running back target.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so that's just plain old numbers when you look at it, when you look at the slope of the line.